I said to Wise one day, the biggest generational curse in the Black community is unforgiveness. And I'm going to tell you why it's unforgiveness. Because we continue to keep talking about something that a good 90, 100% of us probably did not go through. We did not go through it. And we continue to keep pushing this narrative over and over again. And we're pushing it down from generation to generation. That's why these kids, they don't even understand racism, but they're taught the racism. They're taught this. They come in here and now they are out here hating each other. And we could have fixed this situation a long time ago if we had said, you know what happened in the past, we forgive, we leave it in the past, let's move forward. We can do so much more, but we continue to be in this space.
Social and political commentary from a Christian male perspective.
Let's get things going, man. We're going to get the show kicked off. And I got a couple clips to share with you guys. And we got to start off.
Black fatigue. This video might make you uncomfortable, but it needs to be made. There's a growing sentiment, most recently, of individuals who are proclaiming they do have black fatigue. And you don't have to be a non-black person to have black fatigue. What does that phrase actually mean? Essentially, black fatigue is a growing weariness of the actions of the quote unquote black community. But it goes deeper than that because we are in 2025 now, and we are being judged based on the content of our character and not the color of our skin. But the interesting part is, the lie that's been sold to the black community in particular is that the color of our skin dictates the content of our character. That's why in the black community, sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, you are acting white when they're talking to someone like myself who doesn't act the way most people would expect a conventional black person to act. In their minds, there is a correct way to act black. And the people in your ethnic group who fulfill those very negative stereotypes, those are the ones who are going to essentially drag down the collective whole. And that's why there's individuals who are black who do and can have black fatigue, because they see how damaging it is to see the worst of us attract all this negative attention that then unfortunately gets ascribed to the entire race all too often. But what's unfortunate is here in 2025, now we have to contend with the fact that there's people who are so sick and tired of seeing those negative aspects, those negative individuals in the black community attracting all this attention. That's what is spurring this black fatigue. I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And until we turn inward and address the issues in our own communities, I fear that this is only going to continue and get worse. And that's exactly what the powers that be want. They want to have us against each other instead of us against those who are really pulling the strings in the background.
There was a white woman who has now since deleted her video talking about black fatigue and how she and the rest of society are so fed up with the ghetto and ratchet behavior, the entitlement, the victimhood. Her words, not mine. Couple of things. One, black fatigue is a real thing, but it's not what that lady was saying. Black fatigue is the emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by the daily stress of living under systemic racism and its consequences. So the black community has black fatigue due to the oppression they've lived under in this country since its inception. Two, it never ceases to amaze me how little most white people are willing to look at the true history of this nation and understand that while they personally may not have owned slaves or lynched black people or used black babies as alligator bait or conducted experiments on black people or operated on black women without pain medicine because they didn't think black women could feel pain, they are still benefiting off the society and systems that made those things possible. Racism is deeply rooted in this country from the beginning. We stole this land from the indigenous Native Americans. We brought black people to this country against their will and sold them into slaveries. We ripped their families apart. We have maligned, maimed, and misused the black community since the first ship arrived on the shores of the United States. Do you understand how hard the fight has been to get even a semblance of equality in this country? And now, what little progress we've made is being undone by this administration. Trump and this administration has made people like that woman and the many racist commenters on that post feel comfortable to speak so publicly about their racist views and feelings. Because, spoiler alert, nothing will happen to them. Black people are questioned about everything they do, even if they're just walking down the street. Until this country as a whole accepts responsibility for how we were designed and built, this country will never see true equality.
But let me pull up the panel for this morning. We'll start with Minister Denzel. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. Hope all is well with you.
Yes, sir. You know, it's always good to be with you guys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. Let me get my guy, Aaron Von Black from the Freedmen's Network. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. Hope all is well with you.
How you doing, Wise? Thank you for allowing me to come up.
Oh, not a problem, man. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, man. Let me get my guy, Jason from Dear Woke Christian. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, brother. Hope all is well with you.
Grace and peace, man. In the building. Good to see y'all, gentlemen.
All right. Got a few others, man. Shout out to Crystal from Beyond Labels. Appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister. Hope all is well with you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
All right. And we have Mika from Red Cup Talk, Pop Culture Mika. Mika, appreciate you pulling up this morning, sister. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Outstanding. And I wanted to bring, he's kind of last minute addition, but shout out to my guy, Chris from, the Chris Highland Show. I wanted to pull him up this morning. Appreciate you pulling up, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you for pulling up, man. We here. I want to start the show off like this. Aaron, I want to start things off with you. Because when I did this on Friday in my initial discussion, I don't know if you agree what me and Minister Denzel had to say about it. But I want to start the show off with you. I don't have a question, but go wherever you want to go with this, because I know you had some things that you wanted to kind of get off your chest on Monday. So go for it.
Well, I did like some of what Minister Denzel said. I don't agree with everything, but I did like some of what he said because he brought out some points. With this whole thing, this narrative that's out there about this black fatigue. Now it's trending all throughout these internet streets. It's trending, right? But the woman that actually wrote the book, what's her name? Mary Frances Winters. She published that book, I think, in 2020. Black fatigue, and it was talking to the points of how Black society is weary of the things we go through. From all the way from 1865 to present day, the red line and the black codes, different things like that. And she was speaking to that. But what has happened is the term has been hijacked from the dominant society, and now they're using it because what I see now is a lot of desperation, and they're putting out talking points, and of course you got some of the well, let me not be too aggressive in name calling, but you got some folks in our society that has picked those talking points up and they're running with them.
Got you. Jason, I want you to get in there.
Oh, man, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me. Grace and peace to the panelists. One of the problems that I've discussed on my channel, and actually we talked about this last week, and I'll probably be talking about it, I'm gonna start calling it Fatigue Friday, is we as Black people are not taking the time to honestly discuss what happens in our culture and what is associated with our culture. We're extremely quick to blame bonnets and pajamas on white people and slides and such like that on other people groups rather than us. Why do we allow that? Why do we allow that? And a lot of the time, what Black fatigue for me is me having to explain why women in Walmart wearing bonnets and pajamas and slides. I'm tired of that. I don't find joy in trying to explain why we behave like we do in other scenarios. But that has nothing to do with white people, though. That's the thing I find very interesting. We're very quick to blame and point the finger at white people, but that ain't got nothing to do with us, with them rather. It has everything to do with us. Why our children are raised in households without men, that's something that we need to discuss and have an honest conversation about. Why our schools are failing. We have to have that conversation. It really truly has nothing to do with white people. So to blank now, whether or not I do think it's funny that white people are co-opting the term black fatigue, because I do know what the initial author meant. And I find it kind of humorous that it's now being co-opted and taken over and used in a different way. But haven't we been doing that forever? Why are we acting? Why are we clutching our pearls? Because they're taking the term black fatigue and using it differently. And we do it all the time. So stop it. But back to the point. We are not willing to have honest conversations, because as soon as we start saying, hey, we need to stop doing the bonnets and pajama mafia, we need to stop that, we immediately get called on the carpet by who? Black folk. About why? Because we're not sticking to code, because we're not following along, or we're going against the culture, we're not standing with the community. All that kind of stuff like that. They ain't got nothing to do with white people, Indians, Asians, or Hispanics. That's us that are doing that. So I'm finding it humorous, and I'm enjoying talking about it, because we do need to have an honest conversation about it and say that ruckus, loud, noisy minority of black people that are really dragging everybody down. We need to have a conversation about that.
I would agree. I agree with everything that you said. Mika, I want you to go. What are your thoughts on this particular subject here?
Good morning, everybody. So here's the thing. As a person that grew up, being raised by my mother's side of the family, which is Polish. Okay. So I grew up in preferably a white household. My grandfather is Polish. My grandmother is Native. So I grew up under, quote unquote, the white man. Here's the thing about it. What in society are we really talking about? Because just because you are Black, African American, whatever you want to call it, do we get a pass to say you can't call out degeneracy? Now, growing up in this household, I had a lot of other family and friends, and they would say all the time, don't talk to this person, don't talk to that person. They would be talking about other white people, and they would call out the degeneracy. For some odd reason, in the Black community, you can't call it out. And you have to acquiesce to it. You have to act like you understand it. You empathize with it. You know it. Even if you don't come from that. So I think that does a disservice to a lot of the community, because you can't even advance without being called bougie, without being called the C word, which is really white supremacy, if you really want to say it, because that's who gave you that word, to call yourself that. But however, it's just something I've noticed. And I think that's the biggest thing. We talk about, certain people, certain demographics, certain groups, such as what they call the YN, such as what they call, a lot of girls that are doing all this twerking and things like that, like in inappropriate places, because there's a time and a place to do whatever. That is a culture. That is a subset. Unfortunately, Black people won't call it out.
You're absolutely right. No argument from me there. Chris, I want to get you in here, as the, I guess the only, white American here on the panel today.
Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Chris. I want to get your thoughts, man. What are your thoughts on this subject? When you first heard, I guess the term black fatigue, and you see, some white people actually agree. Others are coming out here and they are, got their, white savior, captain, save a black person caps on. What are your thoughts? Go wherever you want to go with it.
When I first heard the term, I stopped and thought, I'm like, okay, is that legit? Do I feel black fatigue? And I thought about it. I go, no, I have plenty of black friends, great, lifelong black friends. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, what I am really tired of is I have CRT fatigue. I have the idea that every ill in society somehow stems back to some sort of systemic oppression, whether there was ever systemic oppression in the past or not. And I'm a firm believer that there is no longer systemic oppression. Is there racism? Absolutely. Racism is a spiritual problem. As long as we are sinners on this side of eternity, there will be sin. There will be racism. There will be sexism. There will be murder. There will be, you name it, robbery, theft, pick your poison. As long as, we're fallen people, that will exist. And it exists all around the spectrum. There are white racists and black racists and Mexican racists and you name it. So when I started thinking about it and really pondering, do I have black fatigue? No, I have CRT fatigue. I have woke liberal BS fatigue is what I'm really tired of. And that I think pervades into what has become, because when I look at, the nonsense of the twerking in Lululemon and the brawls that happen on Caribbean cruise and the stuff that she was talking about, that to me is not black culture. I've experienced black culture, with my friends, and black culture that the black culture that I've experienced is, very family oriented, diligent, hardworking. And so when I see the elements that she was talking about, I don't see black culture. I see woke, liberal, CRT toxified black culture. They've taken all the worst elements that they've been fed in the public school system and in the media and in things, in what hip hop has become, and they've ingested it, internalized it, and they've let it remake them into something they were never meant to be. And I'm not even talking spiritually or from a Christian point of view, something they were never meant to be strictly in terms of, their black history and upbringing and the way that, families used to comport themselves. And that's what I'm tired of. And that happens and that's just not just a black thing. That's white. These white idiots, these white savior morons, they make me really want to, rip my TV off the wall.
But Minister Denzel, I want to give you the opportunity, I guess, to elaborate, on, I guess your take on this from Monday. But I want to ask you a question. Is it really black fatigue, or is it more of just a fatigue of the, degeneracy that we see in America of a plethora of races, whether it's black, white? We just see some very degenerate behavior out there. Is it really a black fatigue thing, or is it really people are just tired of degeneracy out here?
That's okay. I think that's my issue, is that we have a tendency of allowing people to define things for us. We have a tendency of someone developing a language, a term, and then everybody picks it up and runs with it. And I've gotten out of that. I think that Proverbs 26 verses 4 and 5 says that we're not supposed to answer people according to what they're saying, but we're supposed to answer them according to wisdom. My view is that it's not black fatigue. It's actually, we do not have to accept depravity. We have to. It's the madness. It's not a fatigue. When I hear and watch these people act up like this, I just see it as is. It's just human depravity, stupidity, and they need to be helped. It doesn't. No one likes to be around that kind of mess. But as I said before, and I think we need to have a program where you actually talk about the solution, because that's where we need to go at with this stuff. But my point is that I try not to let people define my language for me, because when they define the language for you, and as the brother was talking about, the sister that wrote the book and how easy it got co-opted, we have to define what we're saying when we're talking about any particular subject, because everybody has their own views about it. We have to make sure we're on the same page. So my point is that it's basic depravity. It's basic bad behavior, and it's in every ethnicity. It's in every background. And it's not just with black people, but as you said before, and it's very true that black people tend, the black community tends to glorify a lot of this stuff. We glorify stupidity. And I think that the only solution for that is that we have to stop, first of all, making it so viral by giving the wrong kind of attention, and actually dealing with the stupidity when it happens. The more we shut this stuff down when it happens, the harder it's going to be for them to be, to become an issue. And that's my concern, is that I try not to allow things to become so ingrained where it becomes the negative becomes the dominant. I think our job is supposed to try to figure out ways to shut the negative down, or to let it not be so popular. Sin is sin. The world's in sin. We're going to have that kind of problem. But our job is not to feed into it and to let it frustrate us and aggravate us. our job is to respond to it biblically. Every time Jesus was confronted by stupidity, he shut it down with wisdom. You look at the 22nd chapter of Matthew, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, every time they came with him with a dumb comment or dumb action, he responded with such wisdom that they, in fact, the 46th verse says, from that point forth, no man dared ask him any more questions. This is what I'm trying to aspire as a Christian. To whatever situation is, whatever topic is, when it is presented to me, my responsibility is to observe it carefully, evaluate it accurately, and then respond to it with wisdom, and a kind of wisdom that cannot be refuted without, just being stupid.
Crystal, I want you to get in there.
Well, I agree with a lot of the people on the panel because it is a problem. I don't know if it's Black fatigue. I think it's just bad behavior all around, and it's celebrated, and we have a lack of accountability. No one wants to speak up and speak the truth. I'm thankful for the people that I see here that are speaking the truth, but we have to get it out more because we're supposed to be the light of the world. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to stomp out all of this darkness. And right now, what you see is the elevation of continued bad behavior, but I think it's even more celebrated within the Black community. And as we all agree, it's a small subset of the entire community, but it's so elevated, it looks like everyone is involved in it. And no man is an island. That's something my dad always used to say, and I 100% agree. So now it's spilling out in other places. No accountability, nothing. People, like Minister Denzel said, they are just using it to increase their viewership. I'm watching children on the school bus. So they're watching this behavior from the adults, and we're supposed to be the people that are leading the future, right? We really do have to call out the bad behavior, regardless of if we have to get back to the truth, which is we don't put God back in the middle of all of this.
That's right.
We are just going down a horrible, horrible hole that I am afraid to see what the next 10 years will be like if people can't get their behavior together.
Are we not allowed to call out bad behavior when we see it? But I had someone in the comment section come out and was like, here you are talking about this stuff, in front of everybody. My question is, one, are we not allowed to have a conversation about it? And two, if not us, who and then when?
Okay, here it is. I don't know. I know I listen to people that talk to that. I speak to that. You understand? I don't give nothing a pass. If it was just like when I was growing up, if I did something wrong, my father punched me dead in the mouth. He might have not did it in public, but when I got home, I was getting punched in the mouth. You understand? And that's the approach that I take to it. So I don't give nothing a pass. I don't like the fact that we're allowing, I can pull up, for every video you can pull up of degeneracy in the Black community, I can pull it up. I can pull up a video of white folks doing the same thing, or sometimes even worse. So I don't know what people are listening to. They call this stuff out, and they give, the thing about it is, if I'm calling you out on something, I have to at least give you the game to rectify the behavior. So when we quick to say, I don't want to be around that behavior, I don't want to be, nobody wants to be around bad behavior if you got some sense. But we can't, there's people out here that need help.
Get in there, Mika. And Jason, you go.
So a lot of the things that he did say was correct, but also a lot of the things that he said also are missing a little context. And I want to just touch on a few points. So you were talking about something, I guess, equivalent to like the Black grift, right? Because there's a grift. Let's just be, clear. There's a grift on YouTube, period, right? If they see something moving, they're going to jump on it. All right. The left does it, the right does it, yada, yada. However, there is a sincere movement with people of color just calling out a lot of the things. And you said you call out things, but there's a difference to me with calling it out and then saying that you won't tolerate it. Because and this is just, my opinion. If I'm going to call out let's say someone that, as a woman, I'm thinking is, of that type of ilk. Let's just say that, because I don't know what to say on your platform. So I'm gonna keep it light. Is, doing certain things. Okay. If I'm standing too close to her, I'm probably gonna get associated with that. If I dress like that, I'm probably going to get associated with it, regardless if I'm like that or not. So the reason why I say it like that is because all the time you will see Black folks in secret say, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. But you won't say anything and you won't stand on it. It's almost like the tribalism would be like, well, if I say something about it or if I stand on it, then my tribe won't like me anymore. And it's because they can't say what they really want to say in fear of their own race giving them backlash for holding them accountable for what's hurting them. And then lastly, you said something about talking down. In order to give somebody truth and understanding, you have to tell them the truth. For some reason in the Black community, it's hate and talking down. We try to say, well, nobody's better than somebody else. In my opinion, yes, there are. There are others that are better than others, and they can be the teachers. But it's looked at always as a negative instead of a positive. Growing up in a mixed race household, I definitely saw that in a post, civil rights, I guess, era, it's definitely separated. One side doesn't know the other. And they sit there and go back and forth on what they think they know about the other side.
I love it. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Mika. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the brother. I like when he comes on. I always appreciate your insight in that right there. Couple quick things. You use the whataboutism. You can show me a video for every white person fighting for every Black person I would show. And I agree with that. But you wouldn't be able to show me white people actually promoting that type of lifestyle. And I use the example on my show, like if there's a trailer park about a quarter mile from my house, I don't see any of my white neighbors to the left or the right of me promoting and supporting what goes on in the trailer park. But we know that that's what we do. We talk about the ghetto. We esteem the ghetto. We elevate it to dang near close to heaven. That's a problem. You don't see white people do that, or other people groups really do that. Now, I'm sure there's a little segments, but as an overall package, when you talk about Black culture, you're talking about what's going on in the hood. Very rarely is it the highly educated, two-parent home, stable home. You don't see that. That's not what they say when they talk about Black culture. We talking about the hood, the YNs. So, but the whataboutism, I think we should not do that. And I said in my opening salvo, I don't care what the white people are doing. My neighbors across the street do not wake up in the morning saying, dang, Jason is awake today. They don't care. They're not thinking about me. This is a Black problem that we need to have an honest conversation with the highly melanated community about the things that we promote. And Mika just said it. And that's the last part that I want to talk about. Calling something out and standing against it are diametrically different. I have daughters. They do not wear their bonnets downstairs in this house. You can't wear your bonnets, and they barely can wear their pajamas downstairs. And God have mercy on your soul if you walk into the garage. Okay, it's a wrap. They know that because why? Dad is vehement against bonnets and pajamas and slides. So my 17-year-old, she's in this rebellious thing now. So she calls herself being slick, trying to take out the trash, can't wear her bonnet. And she knows look, I don't care if you didn't take the trash out. Your life is in jeopardy because you wore that bonnet out in my garage. So, because I stand against it. So, and my wife will never let him get in the car. It's a wrap. So we don't just call out bonnets, pajamas, and slides. We stand against bonnets, pajamas, and slides. If their friends come around, baby, we don't do that. Not here, Whitaker Park. We don't do that. So it's very clear. So we need that equivalent here where we tell the young bloods as men, bro, we don't do that. That's not how we promote ourselves. We can't further our community and the Black experience and people's perception of Black people with you behaving in that manner. That's it. So I don't think it's an issue of somebody's calling them out and they're getting paid to call out. No, it's just not acceptable. Most of the time, you hear this from people who themselves don't live in the hood. They themselves don't live in the projects. And they sitting there berating me. I ain't never lived in the projects. And so because I ain't never lived in the projects, I can't speak on it. Come on now, that's not even fair. That's not even reasonable. And so giving a fair assessment of a situation, I don't think is wrong. And I'm going to end with this. Philippians 4:15, speak the truth in love. I love my brothers and sisters. I love my daughter's friends that try to come around here. And I love them so much that I'm going to tell them we don't do bonnets and pajamas up in here. So don't come around here with no bonnets and pajamas. They tell them, yeah, don't come around my dad in bonnets and pajamas. I don't like seeing him when I drop him off at school. Why are you wearing that? What's your mama let you walk out? They know it. Mr. Whitaker gonna fuss at me in the parking lot at school if I'm acting crazy. God have mercy, I see the Kroger. So my point is, but they know that I love them. They know that I care about them and I want the best for them. And I want them to have the best experience in high school, the best experience in life, apart from the foolishness and shenanigans. But when you put a doggone magnet on yourself to collect foolishness and shenanigans, to attract ignorance, I can't do much for you.
Before you go, Minister Denzel, I got a question. But do you think that the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, and their rhetoric, the Ilhan Omars of the world who go out there and say that, white people are the biggest threat, to this country, do you think it's their rhetoric and a lot of rhetoric that you hear from the left, specifically, a lot of these people out here that are saying that the white people is evil, this, so forth and so on. Do you think that type of rhetoric is now emboldening white people to say, we got to fight fire with fire? Chris, I want you to go there, and then Crystal, I want you to get in there. Minister Denzel, we'll let you go after that.
When I grew up, my father had a saying that stuck with me, and that was, if you're around trouble, you're in trouble. So you either extricate yourself from the situation, get out, or you're going to be lumped in with everybody else. And I liken that to a broader, conversation about societal norms and what you mentioned. The fact that, calling out something and standing against something are two different things. And as a society, both white and black, just as an American society, we used to have societal norms that certain behavior was unacceptable. It was shunned. It was shamed. It was, it was called out. It was stood against. Society in general said, no, we're not doing this. Now, for I think a whole host of reasons, the lack for a better word, called the devolution of black culture has happened a lot faster than the devolution of white culture, but they're both happening. Make no mistake. Black, two-parent, black, intact households 60 years ago was 75%. It's dropped into the low 20s now. The whites at the same time were less. They were at 60, I think they were 68. They were less than intact black households. They've also declined, just not as fast. So because of what, has been fed to, the black society in general, and I think a lot of it has to do with what has been, fed in their schools and what's been fed in music and other things that pervade that a little more than it does white culture. It has caused the steeper decline. But in either case, it's the lack of cultural norms. We have stopped shaming and standing with cultural norms and started embracing the depravity. And so it's become a serious problem that, we've got a level of critical mass that if we don't shift it now, you mentioned in 10 years, I hate to see what this thing looks like in 10 years. In 10 years, it will be 100 times worse. We were out during prom season, just me and my wife, 2 occasions. Once we were on a date, and the other time we were at a dinner during my mother's funeral. And it was prom season. And I watched the dresses that these girls walked in. White, Hispanic, black, all the above. And I looked at my sister and I said, what would Dad have done if you walked downstairs in a dress like that? She said, oh, I never would have walked down in a dress like that because I'd have not gone out of the house for 2 weeks. And so it was Dad who set the tone. It was Dad who set the standard, but it was dads all across the country that were setting a standard that maintained a general societal norm that we no longer have. And that's I think where we've really gone off the rails.
So what I will say is you have the Jasmine Crockett's, the Ilhan Omars, definitely.
And then Nancy Mason and Marjorie Green Taylor said, listen, we have thoughts on these things too. But that goes back to no man is an island. It's not like you're keeping it within your house and in your little space. You're bringing it out into the world amongst everyone else. And the thing that I never understand is, why is it okay for our white counterparts? It's okay for them to pander to us and sit in the space of that victim mentality, supporting us, trying to be the white savior for us, but they can't have the voice to point out when bad behavior is happening. It's a human thing. That's what I look at it. It's a human thing. And instead of us saying white people shouldn't be able to speak, if they see bad behavior, they should be able to be free to say what they need to say. I know you don't agree, Aaron, but again, bad behavior is bad behavior. I've seen white girls where I see them cutting up, and I as a Black woman, as a mother, because I am a mother first, if I see you acting up, I'm going to say, would your mother appreciate how you're behaving? I shouldn't have to stop and say, oh no, I'm a Black woman, I can't speak to these white girls for their bad behavior. That is the problem. That is why we've gotten to what we've gotten to today, because we are supposed to love each other just like God loves us. We're supposed to be out here loving our neighbor. That means telling the truth. It doesn't matter the race. We're supposed to tell the truth. The truth is not always going to be nice, but the truth is real. So we have to keep it real. If we see bad behavior, we shouldn't stop and say, a white person seeing a young Black girl in a position that she's not supposed to be in, she's not supposed to stop and say, oh no, I'm a white woman, I'm not allowed to speak, I'm supposed to keep quiet because she's Black. That's ridiculous. We're still human. And I think until we get back to the place of where community is not Black, it's not white, it's people. Until we get back to the space of being, this is America, we are all a community, we are all Americans, and we look at and see, we are not going to accept bad behavior, be it Black, be it white, be it Hispanic, be it Asian, whatever it is, and we speak up, we call it out. We're not going to stop and say, I'm going to wait for the Black people to speak to Black people, the white people to speak to white people, the Hispanic people to speak to Hispanic people, until we get back to doing what God called us to do, which is be a light for everyone. We will be in this position. We need to be able to speak up.
Exactly.
Right. Chris,
truth is truth, regardless of who's speaking it.
I got a question for, and this is for all of you guys. And let's talk a little bit about solutions. I mean, obviously, everybody has kind of beat this particular topic up. Obviously, it's trending out there. You have white people, Black people, and everything in between having this discussion. But let's talk solutions. Is there any policy, practice, or a cultural shift that you guys would like to see to kind of help bring this down, to reduce this, what people are calling quote unquote Black fatigue? We'll start with you, Aaron, but is there anything that you feel like can be implemented from a policy, practice, or just a cultural shift in general?
Right now, right here in the state of New York, we're working. I work closely with my man Divine Prince from the Freedmen's Project. I'm in the process now of trying to start something to reach out to some of these youths and things like that. So I live in the hood. I live in the hood, in the projects. So I'm close. I have what they call boots on the ground. I'm very close to it. So I see the need for certain things, and I'm doing what I can to reach out and try to get some help to some of these young folks, because they're gonna be the future. And but for a moment, I'd like to, the young sister that brought up Jasmine Crockett. What's her name?
Jasmine Crockett.
That was thinking, yeah.
Crackhead.
Let me explain something, y'all. With them, that's something from the left, from the Democrat Party, that she's pushed out there to appease the street and the grassroots. That's why she does all that sassy head shaking and all that dancing and all that. That don't move no ice with us. So let me say that first of all. That don't cut no ice with us. All that's performative. We don't care about none of that. We know when somebody is from the soil. We know. She's not. I was shaking my head when you said that, not because I was in total disagreement with what you're saying. White folks, I don't care about them being fatigued, because guess what? We're fatigued.
Okay, I do have a counter to that, but I want to read super chat real fast. Thank you, Vonnie. LA23 says people are not quick to help because these parents are terrible, and I'm assuming they either didn't or don't. I'm thinking that's don't teach these kids to do better. It's no responsibility but their own. Accountable. Goodness, man, y'all got to work with me with this. The grammar, man.
I got it. I see what she's trying to say.
Accountability. I'm guessing accountability. Accountability is a drug people.
People
are so upset. Not golly, man. I apologize. Y'all gotta help me out with the grammar, man.
If you need me to, man, I can read it, man.
If you can translate that for me.
I can totally see what she's saying. I'm gonna read it as I understand it. Starting here. It's no one's responsibility but their own. Accountability is a drug people are so upset to not take. And shout out to her. I know she's also probably trying to fit it into the time into that
little. Too. Okay, I got it. To counter Aaron, last time I checked, we all live in this country. We all are Americans, and yeah, we are. I guess we are somewhat, I guess, separated, quote unquote, by the amount of melanin that we have. But for the most part, we all live amongst each other, especially, if you live in the Northeast to an extent. I know around here, we all are living around each other. A block to two. My neighborhood is completely diverse. I'm sure Mika's is very, very close to that, although I think you're a little further south than I am here in Maryland. But we all are Americans, and we're all having to deal with that. We're all in the same restaurants. We're all at the same grocery stores. We're all experiencing the same foolery. So to say that, because they look a certain way, that they don't have the ability, or they should not be able to speak out against it, but it's happening in their neighborhoods, in the stores that they shop at, in the restaurants that they go to, things of that nature.
In that Lululemon, man.
Yeah, the Lululemon and all these other different places. So this is happening in America. And no different than us. If we saw, when we see, ratchet behavior that's happening, in white communities, or if there's, white folks that's happening at the grocery store, we'll say it. I know every last one of you guys have seen some little bad white kid in the store and looked at him and like, oh, heck no, man, somebody need to whip his tail. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like if we're all living amongst each other as Americans in America, you know what I'm saying? We are, this is our country, and we are essentially the same people when you think about it in the grand scheme of of the international scale, right? Mm-hmm. And if you see it, you should have the ability to say, man, I don't agree with this behavior.
So you're exactly correct. Outside of America, yes, there are, issues with certain things that are similar to America, but I've noticed that this particular, the white and black thing, is definitely a American problem. And it seems to be exacerbated here, right? There are other countries that have it. My father is Latin American, okay? And in Cuba, it doesn't matter if you're a white Cuban. It doesn't matter if you're a black Cuban or a mixed Cuban, okay? At the end of the day, everybody's Cuban. And it's something like in America, you don't want to come together under that sense. You don't want to come together under the sense that, America has all different types of races. Because this is not a novel idea. There are people sitting on islands with all different kinds of races. So with that aspect, why isn't it just about having respect for other people? So what I'm saying is, why don't we look at our communities that way? Because whether you're in an all, mono community, whatever race it is, or you're in a diverse community, we have to all live there. Why don't we look at the country like that as a whole?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the thing is that when you step out of this country, your accent will tell everyone outside of the nation you're an American. You actually you have more in common with a white American than you do with somebody that would be black from another nation. If you found yourself in that situation, I've experienced this, myself as someone who has traveled a lot. I would say as a black person, I am tired of seeing a certain demographic of people act a fool And then when you call it out and say something, they clutch their pearls like, please don't say anything about us, and definitely don't say it, say this about us in front of these good white people. You know what I'm saying? It's that mindset that bothers me. And I'm sick and tired of it. I'm fatigued of the ignorance that I see out here. Being out right outside of Baltimore City, you see it and you hear it all the time. This city is 70+% black. So I live around black people, and I'm sick and tired of it. Now, the other thing that I'm really sick and tired of is I'm sick and tired of, I think somebody had mentioned this earlier, but I'm fatigued with liberalism and what it puts out there and their agenda. I'm fatigued with that. So my question to you, Aaron, is, and Crystal, I want you to get in here. What do we do? You know what I'm saying? Because if we can't talk about it, we have people out here that they're 100% in lockstep with the foolishness. What are we supposed to do about it? Go, Crystal. I know you had something.
That tether thing, as a Caribbean American woman, I'm going to tell y'all, as a Caribbean American woman, because my parents are from the islands, my grandparents. The thing is, when a lot of Caribbean people come to America, a lot of Africans that come to America, because I have friends that are Nigerian, they come here, and they're coming for better opportunity. I've heard the stories growing up, but again, the beautiful thing is forgiveness is key. But I heard a lot of stories of how Black Americans treated a lot of the Caribbean and African people that came over here. They didn't want, there was like a separation. So I feel like in that aspect, there should be healing, because if there's healing, then we could all work together. That's number one. Number two, I think that we just have to get to a point of fixing the issues. White people are not infatuated with us. It's not that white people are infatuated with us.
Yes, they are.
White people, no, they're not. I have white people in my community, and they just love on, we love on each other. It's not about black, it's not white, we just love each other. We're not looking at each other. You're black, you're white, you're Hispanic. We just love each other. I appreciate the things that they do, just like they appreciate the things that I do. I said to Wise one day, the biggest generational curse in the Black community is unforgiveness. And I'm going to tell you why it's unforgiveness. Because we continue to keep talking about something that a good 100% of us probably did not go through. We did not go through it. And we continue to keep pushing this narrative over and over again. And we're pushing it down from generation to generation. That's why these kids, they don't even understand racism, but they're taught the racism. They're taught this. They come in here, and now they are out here hating each other. And we could have fixed this situation a long time ago if we had said, you know what happened in the past? We forgive, we leave it in the past. Let's move forward. We can do so much more, but we continue to be in this space. Again, forgiveness is key. I wish the Black community, and why I asked that question before, what can we do? We need to get back. We need to forgive and stop with you owe me this, you did this to me. We need to get back to forgiveness, and we need to get back to finding our identity in Christ and stop with the black, white, Hispanic, and all that other stuff, because we're still people. When life is over, you step into heaven. There's not a black section, there's not a white section, there's not a Hispanic section. There is all of us, and we need to
Ain't no ghetto in heaven.
Get in there, minister.
This is why I said earlier that we have to stop letting people dictate how we define things. Right. Acts 17:26 says, God has made of one blood all men for to dwell upon the face of the earth. And we have to stop allowing ourselves to think in terms of what we call race when it's actually just ethnicity. There is only one race, and that is the human race. We've allowed the enemy to train our thinking to think that we are different races, and there's no such thing. And people do stupid things. Races don't do nothing. There's only one human race. And again, this is programming, though. And we have to, as believers, remember, we're the lights of the world. We're going to have to start. I know it's not easy, because we're constantly exposing ourselves to 1,000 different things that are and that repetition sometimes gets ingrained in our thinking. We start talking and acting the way they trained us to act. I try to separate myself from what people are saying and how they're saying it. And I try to let the word of God dominate my thinking, so that when I approach something, I can more easily approach it from a biblical perspective. I don't see I see people light skinned, white. I know what they're called, white people, but they're actually human beings that have light skin. You know, they're just humans. So if we think based on humanity, we don't play. We're not able forced to play into that so-called racial type dichotomy. We can deal with people on an individual basis. Now there are groups of people that act crazy, yes, but we still need to understand that we're lights. Our job is to accurately identify the problem and biblically respond to it. We have to train ourselves, because I be honest, quiet as kept. Many of us Christians are a part of the problem, because we feed right into the same kind of problem that everybody else is doing, and the same kind of mistakes that they're making, the same kind of conversation that they're having. And we can't be the light if we're going to be drawn into that same mentality. All I'm saying is that we have to work on ourselves to be better, so that when we are confronted with these situations, we can respond with biblical wisdom, and we can erase the noise. We can help people like Brother Aaron, who's in the thick of it. Amen. And I can understand where he's coming from. We can't be alike to him if we use the same language. We have to really help, because I know his heart is right. I can see his heart is right. I listen to what he says. I know his heart is right. And if we're not the kind of life that he needs, he will remain there. He could be higher. He can be deeper. But I'm quite sure that he's turned off by a lot of stuff he saw in the Christian church. So all I'm saying is, brothers and sisters, and I thank God for all your conversations, your comments. You guys did a great job today. But I'm saying that please let us strive to understand why it's so important for us to be accurate in what we say, accurate in how we perceive things. And when we respond, we can respond with the wisdom of God and really be a blessing to people. Because, Brother Wise, you asked earlier, what can we do? We have churches. We can talk to our pastors about setting up programs in our churches to actually cater to these kind of people. Go to the police department. Find out if there are any groups in the community who are actually dealing with this kind of thing, and become a part of that. Because the wisdom that we bring to the table, they can't bring. No matter how much they desire to do what's good for the community, without the divine word of God, without the knowledge of the word of God and the proper application of the word of God, they can't do as good as we can. So we need to be involved with all the things that they're doing.
All right. Before you go, Jason, super chat real fast. Sean Cross with the $5 super chat. He says Aaron is an unaware racist filled with deep-seated hate. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I don't know if Aaron's a racist. I mean, y'all might be being a tad bit hard. I don't know if he's racist. But if you want to answer, if you want to speak to that, Aaron, I'll allow you to do so. And then Jason, you get in there.
For sure.
By the definition of the word, it's impossible for me to be a racist.
Thank you.
The definition of the word.
Thank you.
And this is what I mean by these people.
Hold on. Before you elaborate on that, what do you mean by the definition of the word? It's impossible for you to be a racist. What does that mean?
When you define a word, I don't control anything. I don't make decisions.
That's the definition, though.
You understand? I'm not in a position to do that. So, according to their definition,
but one is individual based, one is systemic.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Not exactly. You got to.
One is on an individual level, one is systemic.
Yeah, because when you think about the word racist, I mean, what you're using, that's the CRT definition of racism.
Sorry.
Okay.
The actual definition of racism is a person who believes a particular race is superior to others, or a person with a prejudiced belief that one race is superior to others. So technically, as per the actual definition, Black people can definitely be racist. Black people can definitely be prejudiced. What you're talking about is the CRT definition of racist that they've, crafted, on these liberal college campuses out there. But I'll let you keep going.
Now, this person called me a racist, right? Said I'm a racist. I have racist views or whatever. Why is that? Because I have the gumption or the audacity to come up here and speak up on behalf of my folks. That's what makes me a racist. It makes me a racist because I won't allow this narrative to be put out by your folks to say one thing to demoralize my folks. So I'm a racist, right?
Jason, go ahead, Jason.
Absolutely, man. We were talking about what is a solution for Black fatigue or anything of that nature. And I appreciate the brothers who are talking about starting things, going to churches and starting things. I would even niche it down to even more than that. Just get involved with your kids' friends. Lots of my daughter's friends do not have a home situation like what we have here at Whitaker Park. And they really appreciate the fact that I care about them. So my daughter loves to say, hey, my dad was asking about you today, or my dad calls you his favorite, whatever. I just, whatever their name is, they're my favorite, that person with that name. And they like that. And that little small nuance allows them to see a little bit more about us, a little bit more about them. Little girl's Hispanic. I'm going to her graduation party. I said, because tell her Tio's coming to graduation and I want some slap tacos. So they know I'm coming over to act the fool. Little girl, her mom is a vegetarian and she doesn't have a dad figure in her life. And I said, I have zero problem. I said, absolutely. Tell her I will be her dad. Absolutely. And she can call me her dad. She can say she's going to be going to school down the street around the corner from us. If she needs help with something, she can reach out to me as her surrogate father because she don't have a father figure. And those little small things that you demonstrate that you care and you're concerned about people around your community, I think really, really elevate and allow us, because really Black fatigue and all this stuff is really the fact that we don't know each other because we've isolated ourselves from each other. We segregated ourselves from each other. So I don't really know much about Brother Denzel. I don't know much about Crystal. So I'm just speculating. She got braids. I saw them girls fighting with the braids. Crystal must be like them. It's easy to do that. But once I learned, I didn't know anything about Crystal. She just shared a whole lot about her life right now. And so those little small nuances of caring enough about the people around you. I don't need a program to go knock on Barbara's door and say, hey, I see your grass isn't cut. Do you want my guy to cut your grass tomorrow? That's all. I don't need to have a program. Next thing, y'all know I'm a Presbyterian deacon and involved in my church community very much. And to the point that somebody said earlier about speaking to children when you see them outside misbehaving. So we got a family at our church and they got boys and they're white boys and they're just growing up like weeds and they just do dumb stuff. Okay. They just do dumb stuff. And one day we have some sunshades on our courtyard. And because these boys have grown up so much, now they feel tall. And they are tall. I ain't gonna lie. They're big. So what are they doing? They're always jumping up, trying to touch the sunshades and hit the sunshades. There's just those big cloth shades like that. Well, they don't know, but we as the deacons have to worry about the fact that some of these sunshades have snapped and have ruined part of the building, shattered a piece of glass. And if they snap with another kid around there, that could be a problem. So one day I went out there, again, tall as a weed boy was out there, and he's taller than me. And I said, I had a conversation with him about it. Very, very respectful. Very respectful. I said, man, I'm glad that you're tall. I appreciate that. Take that tallness down into the basketball court, though. Stop touching my sunshades. He totally understood. We shook hands. We were all good to go. I walked back into the fellowship hall, and who's looking out the window? His mom and dad. And guess what they said? Jason, we appreciate you. We really wanted to see what was going to happen with that. They're white and they didn't have any issue with it. How dare a Black man talk to my kid or anything of that nature. They said, hey, we appreciate you caring enough about him to tell him about this. Because we've been telling, he's been at the house touching the ceilings and all this kind of dumb stuff. And we saw him and we were about to say something, but we saw you walk out there to him and we just want to see what happened. And we see that he respected it. So my point is care enough about the people around you. You don't have to go, to the hitherlands. Just deal with the ones right there in your house, right there in your community, and just engage with them. Engage with them. Let them know that I care about you enough to tell you to pull your pants up. I care enough about you to give you a detangling comb so you can take that bonnet off your head. I care enough about you to tell you the truth. This wisdom, hopefully rooted and grounded in the Christian faith, will help change and turn your life around and get you unfatigued, because you fatigue because you don't really know a lot about. Let's be honest. There's really a lot of stereotype stuff and segregation stuff that they don't know.
Yeah.
And so now they just gotten tired of watching it. So now they're just acting up. But I don't think they're really tired as much as they're just unsure, just like we are. That's it.
Yeah. Now, Jason, for you, you're in the Atlanta area. I grew up down there, so I know this. In Atlanta, in the metro, it's extremely segregated. Black people tend to live on one side of town. When I grew up down there, it was definitely like that. I think people do tend to live around each other, especially if you live north, a little more than it was back in the day when I grew up, because I graduated high school in '99. But it's to an extent still very segregated. All my family members, they still live down there. They still live out east. And if you know anything, about what's east,
they live in Decatur.
It's
Where's greater?
It's predominantly black folks.
Absolutely.
Now, although like New Decatur, like the city, they've kind of gentrified that a little bit, and it definitely needed it. But for the most part, in the South, it's like that. Up here, a little different, and that's a lot of the reason why when I moved here, I was like, man, this is a breath of fresh air. And this is a lot of reason why I want to raise my kids here, because I want my kids to be around, just around everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So when they go into school, it's not school where I went to school at. I went to Reading High School, if you know anything about it.
I know exactly where Reading is.
I went to Reading High School. It's 99.9% black. You know what I'm saying? And the teachers, the principals, everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Grass is black.
Everything. So I didn't really experience being around white people like that until I graduated high school, joined the military, and then it was just it was almost the complete opposite, of the environment that I grew up in. So I think I do agree with you. I think a lot of it is that we just don't know each other like that, especially in some of the more southern states, because it is like that. People still live on one side of the town or the other, although that is starting to change. But I'll say this: no one, when we start to speak out against the foolery, the debauchery that we see in the community, a lot of us will get called tethers, even though you're not. I'm not a tether. You know what I'm saying? I don't come from a Caribbean background. I'm from the deep South.
I don't even know what those terms mean, so I don't actually care.
I'm familiar with it, and I don't really care. But I've heard the term, because anytime you go outside of what's acceptable in the community, you will get called a tether. Anytime you go outside of it. I've experienced it myself, and I'm not that. And I've seen it with other content creators out there that will speak against some of the foolery that's going on in the community, and people immediately assume you're a tether because of that. And it's just unfortunate. And I wish it was a term that would honestly just go away. But go ahead, Minister, and then Mika, you go.
I'm glad this is what I was talking about when I'm talking about words and terms that we allow people to create and then apply to different things. If you ever get a chance, look up Thomas Sowell's talk on intellectuals and society, and then he talks about how intellectuals create these kind of dichotomies, push them on society, but they won't take responsibility for what happens as a result of it. I thought it was a brilliant talk. My point is that we have to stop letting people create words that we use, because if we use their language, we're going to be bound by their philosophy. Like, I get back to the thing of racism. I don't use the phrase racism anymore because it's a misnomer. It doesn't make any intellectual sense to me. If I am a human with only one human race, how can I possibly be a racist when we're all humans? You see what I'm saying? They created a philosophy around it that has us at each other's throats. I don't use those words. I try to use biblical terminology and stick to it so that they cannot manipulate me into their conversation. That's all I'm saying. But we have to love each other. Brother Jason, I'm grateful for you bringing up the point you made, because I was going to say that and I never did get around to it. So I'm glad that you brought that you want to deal with the people around you. You can deal with them. You don't need no group for that. You don't need no movement for that.
Right. Get in there, Mika.
Excellent.
So if you see me looking down, it's because when there's talking points, I don't like to speculate on what somebody said, so I write it down. So excuse me for looking down. But the reason why I asked Aaron what a tether was is because, unlike the righteous perspective, I don't have a very savory channel. Meaning I call out a lot of things, and I don't mince my words. I don't hold back on it. And so I see that verbiage a lot, right? I see tether. I see, you just want to be with the white man and such and such and such and such, such. The reason, that I brought it up is because there was a person in the chat that said, I had a tether talking point, and that tethers relate more to white people than black people. So when they said that, it's something I heard, but it's not that I said that, you said it. I just know you know more about it, right? But when they say that, it's mind-boggling for somebody like me, because I grew up on multiple sides. I literally come from 2 mixed race people. Okay. And so with that being said, I had a worldview on people up until I got out into the world and they tried to tell me what I am. And because I know who I am, I'm still fighting that fight as an adult, where there are multiple people wanting to tell me, well, so-and-so is going to see you as such, and so-and-so is going to see you as such. And so I don't give two about it, because I'm not worried about, just like you said earlier, right? You said something about you're not worried about how white people see you. I'm not worried about how others want to classify me in their little boxes, right? Well, you have a little melanin, so they're going to say that you're black. Okay, I don't care. I don't care about that, right? But because they do that, and I have a talking point that's different than theirs, now I'm this, I'm that, and then this and that and the third. Right. And I think it does a great disservice, because somebody like me, okay, I used to have friends that used to call me, they're unfortunately, they're white whisperer, because they would try to, I grew up in DC, they would try to understand something and they would be like, Mika, no, why they doing this? Right. And it's because it was like I said earlier, and I think it's Jason. Is it Jason? Yeah. Even Jason said it, you're separate, right? And so I would find it hilarious, and I find it enthusiasm. I have enthusiasm about it, with teaching people other things about somebody else. And I have a point I make all the time after I talk about the ratchetness in the politics and the ratchetness in the culture. Because my channel slogan is, this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. I will talk about what's going on both sides, and then I'll tell you the truth about it, whether you like it or not. And so what I find is that when I talk to most people, especially when I talk to Black people, they can have, an opinion and a point on, white people and all of this. And I'll go to some of my family members that live in Virginia, and I'll tell them, there's a lot of white people that are in the same situation. And if you took out race and you wrote it down on paper, it is the same problems. It's the same situations, the same way feminism has affected the 92%. The same way feminism has affected them that way, meaning the households are matriarchs, mother-led. So when I talk, and I'm talking from having a household ran by men, my grandfather, my father, my great-grandfather, up until a point in my life, okay? And when I have that, regardless of white, Black, and the third, they don't understand that because they don't come from it. And so now it's, I'm bashing women. So you have all these little things that that liberalism will make you think is a deterrent, or isn't good, or isn't something that can, lead the culture forward. And because I am part Black, I do want to see better, but I'm not going to act like I don't see what I see. As a mixed race person, I understand some people may say I'm in the club, may say I'm not in the club. However, regardless, I'm always going to stand on the side of accountability, because I think, I know you cannot fix something unless you know what you're doing.
Okay. First thing I want to say is to your point just now you made, Wise. I didn't vote for President Trump. But I'm gonna tell you something. Y'all talking about solutions. Some of them policies that he's going after, some of these agencies, and some of these things that's been going on for the last 60 years,
right?
That he's tearing apart.
Yeah,
it's gonna force Black families to get back together. It's gonna cause the marriage rates to go up. The other day they was talking about the attack on the Section 8. See all this stuff about, I don't need no man in the house now. All that's coming to an end. You're gonna have to put We seen those programs in the late 60s, early 70s take black men out of the home.
Sure did.
Right? Guess what? Gonna have to go back to that. All that about you don't need no man in the house and and you the government been your husband. That's short lived.
You're gonna be divorced, baby.
According to some of these policies. So I'm glad you talked to that, Wise. I'm glad you talked to that, and I welcome that.
I do too.
I
do too. And before you go, I want to say this in reference to that particular situation. We were in the gym talking about this, and obviously there's a lot of discussions out here, about all these women. They strong, they independent, or I need if I am going to take on a husband, he's got to make 100, 150, 200,000. You know what I'm saying? These just absurd numbers that majority of people just. They don't make that kind of money. People aren't making that type of bread in America, even though, yes, this is the wealthiest country in the world, but people aren't making that kind of bread. And because of them taking away, the Section 8 and all these different benefits, yes, you're absolutely right. It's going to force chicks to lower those standards. And we're going to get to a point to where it's, hey, does he have a pulse and a place? Simple as that. He got a pulse and a place.
If they had a daddy, all right. If they had a daddy, the dad would direct them.
Absolutely.
Like I find it so crazy, and I get this pushback. This is the pick me side now. Now I'm moving from the teller to the pick me. So the pick me side, okay. They say to me, well, why do you always care what a man thinks? Because I revere my father, my grandfather, and the father before him, and the father before him. So I definitely care what a man thinks. I care about the person that's in charge of my protection, my safety, okay, the provision for my children. Yeah, I care what he thinks. You would want to, right? And then even for the children, I mean the women that say, well, I can do it all by myself. Nature always comes back to the front, because now all you hear is, I'm tired. I want to live a soft life. I don't know what a soft life is, because if you was feminine, you'd be soft life anyway. But at the end of the day, it always comes back. So it goes to what you were saying, Aaron, that yeah, they're going to be coming back because they no longer have, the government to say, well, we'll subsidize this, because a lot of that independency, because if you look at the federal government, the reason why they're squawking, especially in this area, we're in the DMV, the reason why they're squawking is because most of those independent women's wealth have come from the federal government.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They're the most employed by the federal government.
Right.
So it's going to take them out of the middle class and things like that, because they don't want to work with the man. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a lot of kicking and screaming.
Nowadays, parents are trying to be their kid's best friend instead of their parent. There's a lot of that going on, and that's across the board. We used to look at, let's just keep it a buck. We used to look at some of these white kids out there, not all, but some of them, and say, man, my parents wouldn't dare let me get away with this. But now we're seeing that spill over into black communities now. There was a time when black mama or black daddy would be on your head at the store, or you get that talk, don't ask for nothing, don't touch nothing. We going in here to get one thing and we walking out. And if you touch something, hey, they're going to get you right where you are. We've gotten away from that. People have gotten a lot softer. We have moms trying to be their daughter's sisters. I'm just saying, growing up down south, you see certain things.
I'm just saying, I don't know what white parents y'all got, because the white parents I it's the same foot to you know what.
But shout out to AT for the $10 super chat. He says, we need more conversations like this. I see 4 strong men, 2 powerful women having a wildly direct and necessary discussion. God bless y'all. And is that crystal beyond labels? And yes, sir, it is. that is crystal beyond labels. So thank you for the $10 super chat. We're gonna get out of here, but I'll give each one of you guys last word on this, and then we'll close it down. Minister, if you want to go first, and then we'll just kind of go around. Minister, Aaron, and then Jason, Crystal, Mika. Y'all can just go.
Yes, thank you again, Brother Wise, for having us on your program and for having this discussion. I appreciate you. May God bless you and continue to minister to you and through you in your program. Yes, let's just start focusing on how we can be a blessing. Make sure to be the best we can be the best us we can be, improve ourselves, and everyone around us that we can reach, do our best to reach them in Jesus' name.
Yeah, Wise, first of all, thank you for allowing me to come into space with you guys this morning. To all of the panel, y'all so gracious, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
Amen.
And maybe we can have some more of these discussions. I would love to come back up and talk to you, and in any way that I can help any one of you that got anything going on, I'm here for it.
Amen.
Man, thanks, Wise. I'm just glad that you didn't throw in my email from the last time we had a conversation. So I'm glad I didn't get kicked out the Cool Kid Club. By the way, Aaron, man, I just dropped my email in the chat, man. Shoot me an email, man, if you ever want to get together and we can rap about it for sure. Oh, it blocked my email, so I can't post it. Okay, because Wise, they make me a mod. There we go. dearwokesy@gmail.com. But thank you so much, man. This was a fantastic panel. The live chat has been amazing. Looking at the great conversations and comments going back and forth. My only admonishment is to do this, man. Just go outside and just talk to folk. Go to the grocery store, just meet people, shake hands. Just engage with folk. A lot of this Black fatigue and just culture fatigue is because we don't know each other. We don't know each other. They've made a cottage industry of us shunning people and feeling proud and big-chested that I don't know my neighbors across the street. Go over across the street and just, you ain't got to bake no cookies, just go knock on the door and just say, hey, my name is Jason. This is my family. Grace and peace. Just say whatever. I did that to all my neighbors, and we all know each other now. Amen. Now, we don't talk every day. We ain't best friends. We ain't going on vacation together. But the gentleman across the street the other day came across, he's a guy I always joke because he's always playing golf. He came across the street the other day, and I'm like, Lord, what is this? What is he about to say to me? Because, you got to have he's a white guy. I'm like, oh, man, he about to say something about my yard ain't cut right. He going to say something, whatever, right? He came across the street and congratulated my daughter because my daughter is going to his alma mater. Wow. And without any provocation, he and his wife both went to this school. And he's like, man, if they need anything, if you need help with anything, know anything about the school, blah, blah, blah. Me and my wife both went there. We'd be happy to help her out. If she wants to come over and talk about it, we'll do that. A laundry list of stuff. Didn't ask him for it. He was not provoked to do it. It was just because I've made myself available to him. Right. And smiled and shook his hand and talked to him and such like that. So my admonishment to the whole live chat is just go out and meet people, man. Just go out and talk to folk. Take your bonnets off. Don't be rolling around in your slides. But I just want to make Aaron laugh. That's all I want to do. I just want to see if I can get Aaron to laugh. But go out there and just meet folk, man. Just go out there. That's the only way we're going to dispel these shenanigans is just by being gracious and kind and recognize folk don't know. Not knowing something is not a crime. Right. If somebody says, I don't know something, or they say something inappropriate, they don't pronounce something right. My wife's name, I've never met a person that pronounces my wife's name right. And it's a joke. It's a joke how many times they mispronounce her name. But she doesn't get offended by it because the person has less melanin and come off the top rope. She already knows. She knows when she hands something to them with their name on it, she already just announces it. She just pronounces it for them. Just call me G. Don't even worry about it. So she stopped them in their tracks. So a long story short, enjoy yourself, but go out and introduce yourself to people, talk to folk, engage with people. And I guarantee you'll see a whole lot less. You'll feel a whole lot less tired.
Thank you, Wise, for having me again. It was nice to see you again, Minister Denzel. Nice to meet you, Mika and Jason and Aaron, my New York brother, even though I'm here in Atlanta. My New York brother. I'll be here cheering for the Knicks, even though I'm all the way down here. I'll be cheering for them tonight because right now we stand up and we proud of them for right now. But I will say thank you to the chat. And I just want everybody to think about this. If we go back to our identity in Christ, like I will keep saying over and over again, we can do so much more. We can move further. Let's move into the place of forgiveness.
love for one another, shining our light, not celebrating bad behavior, because that is the problem currently. Helping people understand it's important to be accountable to yourself, accountable to others. We can all find a space to be there for one another, loving each other, and do exactly what God wants us to do. Because if we're the light, we can really stamp out all of the darkness in this world, but we have to be that light. And that is my point. I think I made somebody laugh when I said it before. I land my plane again.
Landed.
Thank you, Crystal. Go ahead, Mika.
Well, thank you, Wise, for inviting me, because I saw it the other day when you invited me. I said, you know, I don't mind pulling up. But thank you, and I appreciate everyone on the panel. Even if I don't agree, I tell people this all the time. I love a dissenting voice, because it may be something that I don't know. And I'm not above learning something new. I'm young, and maybe somebody knows more, but I'm also in the business of giving people information as well. So I think we can all learn from each other, whether young, old, black, white. And I talk about my family a lot, because it annoys some people, and I don't care. But I talk about my family a lot, and I do because I've learned so much from just having those different people in my family. All right. I've learned so much about culture and about how to respect others' cultures. And that's what I rather see from people. I rather see that than, see the divisiveness. But I also want to say this last thing. A lot of people have to stop being so offended and just hear what somebody is saying. I think that's where the fatigue is coming from. When I say fatigue, I mean for everybody, because there's no willingness to listen to other people. And just because you're not familiar with that culture or what they're doing, or maybe you don't even like, what goes on in that culture, it doesn't mean you can't respect something. And I think that's where we're at right now. We don't respect one another. We don't respect differences. We don't respect opinions. We just don't have respect in general. So if I can leave everybody with one thing, I just hope everybody learns to listen, truly listen, and then have understanding so you can get to the same destination.